The video recording is on right now. So we're going to talk lesson number 4 on fractions. It says here, we will be using our calculators to work with fractions. That's great. We can use our calculator to work with fractions. You might have to study fractions more thoroughly if you plan on attending a different program in the post-secondary school that requires knowledge of fractions. But in our case, we're going to be using our calculators. So programs with specialized math courses include carpentry, millwork, and electrical are usually these types of programs that have specific courses that you are required to take. So fractions. What are the fractions that we normally hear?
Trigonometries.
The normal fractions that we hear. Normal conversing. Huh? When you're baking, yeah. We use fractions when we're baking, when we're cooking, and then we talk about usually a half, right? A half. That's the usual fraction that we hear or use. We use a half. What other fraction do we use? That's 3/4, 5/8. Okay, now 5/8 is something that's probably used when you're measuring in inches, right? Correct. So 3/4, a quarter, a half. Oh, okay, ounce. That's a unit. Yeah, we're gonna use like half an ounce, right?
3/4 equals 75.
Yeah, 3/4, and you're getting into 0.75, which is fraction converting into decimals. Okay, so good. What is a fraction? What is a fraction? I'm sure everybody has heard of fraction before, but what is a fraction? So the word fraction is another think of doing that is portion. So parts or portion. Because when you say a half, that means you're not talking about the whole thing, but just a portion of a half, a portion of the whole thing. So, and this one here, fraction, there has to be equal parts. Equal parts, has to be equal. So when we have a circle, these ones are, you have 2 equal parts. So this is 2 equal parts. Now what about this one? This one. So this one have 2 parts, right? You have this piece and you have the bottom piece. But this one is not going to be an equal part, right? So this is not equal parts. You have 2 parts, but they're not equal. So for a fraction, we need to have equal parts. Okay? So when we have, start with that one. It's usually like when we look at the fractions, like usually a pi, right? But it doesn't have to be always pi or some circle. So this one has 2 equal parts. 2 equal parts. That would be the denominator. The denominator tells us how many parts there are, how many equal parts. And then, let's say 1, that's the numerator. How much of the 2 parts are shaded or used up. Okay? So this one here, 1 out of the 2 parts. So you would say that as 1/2. 1/2. This part here, how many equal parts are there? How many equal parts in this? 4 equal parts, right? So 4 little triangles. So 4 equal parts. Now how can we show, if I shade this 3 pieces here, what fraction, what portion is shaded? It's going to be 3 over 4, or 3/4 of this whole thing is shaded. So 3/4. So 3 are shaded out of the 4 parts. So 3, you would say 3/4. Okay, let's do one more. Okay, what fraction here is shaded? Okay, 1 is shaded out of how many parts? How many? 3. How many parts? 1, 2, 3. 3 equal parts. So it's 1/3. Say 1/3. 1 out of the 3 parts is shaded. So I just want to take a look at that and kind of touch base on that when we talk about fractions. So over here, 3/4. So this is 11/7. Okay, that's interesting. -39/17, 9/12, 2/3. This one here, what's this mean? 6 4/5. So that means, anybody?
6 times.
Okay. Oh, okay. I think what you're trying to do is trying to put it in an improper fraction. Is that what you're trying to do?
Me?
Or anybody?
No, I just say 6.8.
Oh, 6.8. Okay. Oh, changing it to a decimal. Sorry. Yeah. So this means 6 whole thing, 6 whole piece, okay, 6 whole bars, 6 whole circles, and 4/5 of a circle. Okay, so this is kind of interesting because it's going to be 6 and a bit. 6 and a bit. So how can we draw that? How can we draw 6 and 4/5? Okay, so if we draw circles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so it's supposed to be all the same. 6. And how do we show 4/5? How many equal parts does this have? It's going to be how many equal parts? The bottom tells us that the number of equal parts. Okay, it's going to be 5. Okay, I'm going to try to do 1. Okay, so this one here have 5 equal parts. And how many are we interested in or shaded? Only the 4 are shaded. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 6 whole thing.
Interruption. Teachers, at 10:50 we'll be having the fire drill. So please ensure that you review evacuation procedures. Students, this is a mandatory drill practice you must do 10 times a year. So your teachers will review the process for evacuation. Thank you.
That's good. So we got 6 equal parts and 4/5. So 6, this is what, if you want the visual representation of the fraction, this is what it is. This 6 and 4/5, that one is called a mixed fraction. Or mixed numbers. Or mixed fractions. And the reason why it's called mixed is because you have a whole number and a bit of a fraction, right? So you got to mix numbers because you have a mixture of a whole number and a little bit of a fraction. So they go together, okay, as together. So we're gonna just probably stop right here, okay? We will continue on tomorrow. So, so we talked about this part. This is a symbol. 3/4. So 3/4. Another symbol would be the dividing. We talked about that before. So this could also be 3 divided by 4, which gives us a decimal approximation. I'll talk more about that later on. So for today, in terms of what's recommended for this evening, there's going to be no math homework for you. If you want, you can just read ahead. That's okay. So when we talk about it tomorrow, we know what's happening. So just read ahead. No homework. Another thing too is that if you were away, if you have a hand-in assignment that you want to give to me, you can give it to me today before we go.